this is Sue from the Mount Canary Company. Ed's going to talk to you about our Packer's Toolkit. Go ahead, Ed.
Hi folks, last time we visited, which was for number 69, I told you the next one we'd be doing would be covering our toolkit. Our toolkit is a bag full of stuff that we will use in conjunction to a first aid kit on a major incident where we've got more than one animal hurt or several people hurt, and so consequently, and more tools to deal with stuff. So let's just move the first aid kit out of the way, and you'll see our first aid kit on the thumbnail of 69 and the lead picture in 69 on the back of a pack animal. Okay, this will not be carried on the outside, and this will be in one of the boxes, out of the way. But if need be, and we're on a trip, on the trail, if need be, something gets out of whack, and we need more than we have in the first aid kit, this can be dug out. Believe me, I've dug stuff out of there before. Okay, well, let's get started here. This is just a bag I bought off of Amazon. Handy. You get whatever you want if you're going to do this. Inside, the first thing is you'll see some actual work gloves. I have a pair for Sue and a pair for me, different sizes. There's the first thing, and I'm going to set these aside over here out of the way. Now let's dig into this. There's a lot of stuff here. In here, and some of it's a duplicate from the first aid kit. Right off the bat, you're going to see on the side over here, I have 3 rolls of vet wrap. Again, that's self-adhering bandage material, which goes over a compress, not on the wound, but it's there to hold the compresses on, doing the job for you. Second thing, as they come out, there's no rhyme or reason. Again, vacuum packed Band-Aids. Again, I use the cloth Band-Aids because they hold up. Your little plastic things that are all cutesies on them and so forth. As soon as you put them on, if your hands are wet, or as soon as any chafe on them or they get wet, they'll come off and you're useless. Next thing is an additional wrap with a wonder material, Gorilla Tape. I carry an extra one. You never know when that one gets used up, gets in the way, gets dropped. This stuff can be used for easily even repair the bottom of a hoof that's had a shoe gone. If you need to protect it some more, this is capable of all kinds of things. Your tent leaks, that's your boy. Your boot comes apart, there's your Gorilla Tape. Okay, next one is a duplicate again. This time it's a duplicate of Charles Benadryl. And again, I told you last time, this stuff can be you can just drink it down. Adults, it's not gonna, you can polish the whole thing off and not have adverse effect. Okay, bee stings, man, I tell you, this country, that's a blessing. Again, like I said in the first part, you never know when your body's come around to just taking a problem with that type of bee spit. Your body doesn't know. Your body changes. Again, we're going in. This is another batch of Pepto-Bismol, again, to help you in case you get the trots. All right, now here's another one that's kind of important, and I carry them in here. This is blood stop, bleeding stop. I've got a mechanical valve. With that, I have to take blood thinner. When you got blood thinner, it doesn't like to thicken. So it doesn't like to stop bleeding. It likes to continue to bleed. This stuff is great for dealing with that. You can use this on your animal. You can use this on you. Now you can use this on your dog. Okay, I've got it in here now. I'll put that aside. I carry additional more. I carry more and a bacterial cream. And for injuries, actually have 4 rolls of that wrap. So we got we're ready to deal with whatever happens. Hopefully, you can never have too much of something. You can always have too little of it. You can't stretch a rope and make it longer. You can always cut it and make it shorter. Speaking of cutting, I carry another. See, these could be separated. You can find yourself separated from this. This is another set, another shears for shortening band. This is a gauze cutter. No, it's not that. It's a bandage cutting. All your nurses you see in hospitals or places are packing a pair of these.
Scissors.
Scissors, thanks, dear. That you can get, you see, they're made so you can get underneath a bandage and cut it. This is also good having here with us to shorten down our compresses, to put them on a wound. If you get a 4x4, how do you put it on a little cut that's bleeding like crazy that you got to cover and protect? Now you make it smaller. These are adjusters. Okay, let's keep going at some of the first aid stuff. Here is a wad of more compresses. You don't know, remember I said if you've got a compress and it's bleeding through, you don't take it off, you keep adding. Okay, this is how you can continue to do that on more than one animal or more than one person. Now getting in here into more of the tooling of things I've got. Okay, let's go right here to this next one. This is a heavy-duty syringe and a bunch of little amplets of betadine, which is iodine.
Hold it up.
You can take this and you cut it with water. The best way to cut it is either put the betadine in here and then add water to it, sucking it up. But the thing about this, you can use this to irrigate a wound. There are times you can't get near an animal to wash out a wound. You're not going to get near that foot of mine. And that's happened to me before. Our experience levels are pretty extensive. I've had to deal with all kinds of different things in there over the years, packing alone or with someone else. And many times alone. So I keep thinking ahead of how will I do this if I got to do it by myself. And in this case, I was packing a trail crew in on a day. It was a really rough 2 days we had. It rained so hard that one of the rivers was swollen. A hiker drowned on one of the rivers. I listened to it on the radio. Nothing we were going to do about it. She hadn't taken her pack off when she went to ford this river up on the Quinault and stumbled and fell. Didn't have a stick. Stumbled and fell. Washed down the river, and that was the end of her. So that started the day going to be. I could see it was going to be a big day. The rain is so hard. We got 5 inches of rain in 2 days. It rained so hard the trail was actually had water cascading down it like waterfalls on the first divide, and we crossed the divide. Trail crew had been in there the tour before and to rebuild a patch of trail and basically refilled it. And when we went through, everything was fine. My last little mule was Maudie, and she got into that trail. We kind of moved things around and loosened it, and when she got into the trail, moved, it sliced her. Which just, it can happen. I was only about 150 yards out of camp. It was almost done. Got down in camp, got everything tied off, and I had her right away, and I couldn't wash it. So I ended up turning this up, and you can wash it out. You can wash out a wound. You can wash out a wound if you can get to it. You can wash out a wound if you can't get to it. So I've got enough iodine in here to do quite a bit. And with a syringe that I can reach further and wash, this is kind of handy. And I think if you think about it, it's something you could find you could use. All right, let's go a little here for 1 or 2 more of these little first aid things. Okay, here's a pretty interesting piece of business. This is a, can you see it, Sue, okay? This is a pair of tweezers with a magnifying glass. Now many of us are getting a bit long in the tooth, and our glasses aren't going to necessarily be on us all the time. So this is a way you can work and get something out stuck in you or stuck in an animal, and so you can get a better look at what you're dealing with, how you can see better to get at that. So this is a set of tweezers with a small magnifying glass to it. Okay, let's go and look at some of our tooling in here. This is only three I got here. This one. These are these are chemical lights. You break them, shake them up and break them, and this is a safety light switch, stick, and it's a military uses a lot of these. Sue and I were up on a job on a weekend that was supposed to be a couple hour job, and turned it into 23.5 hours. Long day. And as we came out, there was search and rescue people had been brought in before we'd gone back in to help with an injury, and to get the litter pulled in. We were partway in with a load for some biologists. We had to stop and dump the load, headed back to the trailhead, put together 2 packed units for a big wheel litter, and went back in for a lady with a broken knee. We ended up, that trip in was 11.5 miles, so the and when we came out, so the Park Service had called for search and rescue to help out with manpower. Even though they didn't need it, they had the extras, you know. So when we came out, these things were hanging all over the place. Closer we got to the trailhead. They thought they had to light the trail. Well, it was pretty interesting. It looked like Christmas tree lights going up and down the trail, but they worked. So for us in a situation where my theory has been in the past, you can't have too much light. So in an area where I've been working for years, when the lights go out, the sun goes down, you put a lid on a box, you can't see squat. So these are just something else to fit into the area where they're light. This is also another flashlight with more batteries. If you've got someone injured or something injured, you got to be able to see what you're doing. Again, the more light, the better chance you are to do a good job. So let's go here. And in here again we have a fire starter, like I did in my first aid kit. And a whistle. That whistle is one of these kind of whistles that can't freeze. Okay? These are just normal survival things that can come up, and you just got to be thinking a little bit ahead, because all of a sudden, if it hits the fan, and you're relying on things that you wish you had and you don't have them, well then some of these things could start out as a kind of a quick fix, and they can extend into days. You're back in there trying to take care of a person, injuries, or animals. And again, if you've got, in my case, I'd have 8 or 9 animals at times in with me, and if the process of a wreck goes on, you can have far more than one animal hurt, and far more than one animal hurt seriously. So you kind of think ahead. Thinking of ahead, I got some regular old rubber gloves. Okay, now let's go into some hardware here. Now in here, I've got one of the things that's pretty handy, especially if you've got an animal that's been injured, is how you control them. They don't want to give you their leg, they don't want to play with you. They don't want to work with you. Even the best ones, they're hurt, they're thinking about themselves. So if you've got a pack string, if you're with me and have a pack string, you will have lash ropes. Now our lash ropes are 3/8 inch. Now that's a pretty narrow lash rope to wrap around a leg, because if they get fighting with you and wrapping around the leg, you can have extending your injuries. You can have a really serious rope burn that you're going to have to deal with, which again is open infection and so forth. So instead of that, I came up with years ago, I made several of these. This is the latest mod, was a cuff, an emergency cuff to restrain the leg. So this will go around a leg, and again, sometimes you can't get very close to them. So you get this around the leg, okay? A sling rope will be tied to this part here, okay? The sling rope, you got to keep your imagination, the sling rope's going off to this side, tied a bowline or something out of the way. This rope is then led through this ring, bigger ring. It's a 3-inch, and I think that's a 2.5. That's led through there, and it's tightened up. Now the rope is around their neck or wherever you've used it to attach. Okay, now this will cuff up around their leg. Okay, now you've got the leg tied up. We'll say we'll Scotch hobble them up, or whatever you're going to do to them. Now that's well and good. This way, it's not it's not 3/8 inch rope, and it's not going to get you into much trouble. But when you go to quit, when you go to leave, when you go to get that part, take that part. Where are we? Okay, how do you get down in there? This guy isn't any happier with you, or maybe less happy because you've been doctored on him. Okay, so that's where this tail comes in. This, you can even have a rope tied to this. This is where this tail comes in. This tail comes in this way. You just turn it around, reverse the process, pull it out, drops. You walk away. The rope is tied to here. It's not going to get, you're not going to have to go down in there and try to tie a knot. Again, you'll set this up so that it's around the leg. All right? Be around the leg. And then this, your release is here. That's how I thought about it. How in the hell am I going to get a rope off those guys? I've had that experience before. How do I get that undone? Well, you don't worry about it, because this is where you get it undone. Your rope is here. You figure out how to get it through this ring. Okay, slip it. Come on. Usually I got 2 hands for that. And then you just slowly pull it through, pull it out. The rope here travels away from you with this. The ring drops off, the animal's leg is free. So anyway, that's a little gadget we've invented here that works really good. And I'll tell you, fall in love with it when you realize you're not getting your teeth kicked out while you're down there. Okay, also in here, with hardware, I carry an extra knife. You never know when an extra knife comes in handy. Maybe your helper didn't bring one, or so forth. It's here. Also in this one is a tungsten sharpener. You just slide it down the blade a couple times. You put an edge back on it nice quickly. They're pretty handy. You use too much of them, you take your warrior knife away. But then over here too is a way to sharpen everything. Sharpen your axe, you can sharpen your knives on this. Again, I got another tungsten sharpener. In here is you fold it, it's a bifold type thing, like a switch leg, comes out. There's flat diamond file on each side, which will work to really, now if you're really seriously about sharpening something that you've just knocked against a rock like an axe, and you need it still, you can clean it up back in there. And this is a little round one that you use for your serrated knives, which you carry a lot of times. I carry on my belt, or I have in my fork bag. This can just, again, you can touch it up. You don't know how much you got to do back in there. You don't know what you got to build. When you're working on something that it's important, it's life-threatening or so forth, your stuff goes dull, you can fix it. You can stay in the game here. Stay in the fight. Now on this side here is a, if you don't look, why do we want to worry about shoes on an animal that come loose? If a shoe's loose, it's popping around down in there, singing to you in the back. A shoe could come off and stick out to the side, and now you got a sickle. It's cutting the animal's other leg. We want to reduce ourselves troubles, remove troubles, or so things can't get a bit worse. So the thing is, there's a couple things here left in the bag. Start with this one. This is a little bolt cutters. This is a little bolt cutters. And it'll, if you're stuck, I've ridden before into a, I was over in Montana helping out on a cattle drive years and years ago. And I rode my horse and he stopped. What did we stop for? I looked, here was a barbed wire fence in front of him in the dark. I couldn't see it, but he could see it. He wasn't going to step into that. So that's where this would have been handy. Also got in the middle of the meadow there, and where they've taken off all the old fencing, they left it, piled it up in the grass. They left it in the grass had grown, you couldn't see them right along, and there was actually about a foot of water in the meadow that for, heck, it was almost a mile across. I'm going along, and all of a sudden, whoa, holy crow, pull my horse over, and there's this big wad of barbed wire. Oh boy, well, what was I going to do if I got in trouble in that? I got a bolt cutters. Like this big enough to get into most of that kind of wire and cut it. I knew a fellow who was hunting over in Wyoming, and his horse rode into one of those situations, and it physically cut his leg off. All you can do there is shoot your horse and feel really bad about it. So this is to back you up. Now the other thing is this can cut a horseshoe nail slick. Horseshoe, when the shoe gets loose, the nail starts to wear up, stretch out. For some reason, the clench on that nail, which holds it on, will start to turn like an old sardine can lid. And it'll be a little ball up there, and it's the darndest thing to get off. And a regular, this will cut it. Okay, now, you get yourself a loose shoe, a bad shoe. A shoe's got to come off. You got to deal with it. This is a shoeing tool. This is a, usually multi-tools are useless. They don't do anything good. But this is pretty handy. This one is handy. It's got a, first in the back here, it's got a prying lever. Going up further, you've got to, we've got we can drive that with a rock in to get up and lift things, like a pry bar. This side's a hammer. The guy that built this swore she went out, it was a Farrier, and before it put it up for sale, he said he shot over 200 animals with it before he was convinced it'll work. Inside here, if you'll notice inside here, is a nippers.
Hold it still, down.
Inside there is a nippers. Okay? Now this
hold it still.
No, that's enough. This is a clincher. This part here is used to clinch. You can go back and re-clinch the nail. If you can sometimes drive the nail hard enough up, put a little bit head on, you can go back and re-clinch that nail, pull it down until you can get out and replace it. And this is the main tool, why I bought this tool, was this little gadget right here. And that's called a bird's beak nail puller. It's sometimes when you get, the only way to get that nail out of a shoe in the backcountry is to pull the nail. And you can't get around it with anything else that I've ever had. Needle nose, Leatherman tools, nothing. You can't quite get around it enough to yard it out of that feller, which is the groove around the shoe. This will fit down in the feller, and you pull it together around the shoe. Usually the heads are paper thin, but this can be clamped down in it tight enough, pried, and you can actually pull that nail if you've cut the, sometimes you can't get the shoe off even though you cut the clinch, because the nail is now embedded in that hook wall. This is a pretty handy item. They're not too expensive. I found them, and I've got the Olympia Farrier supply is handling them. And I've got people all over the country have bought them from them. It's the Olympic Farrier supply in Olympia, Washington. Okay, now this one here is, I'm not going to take it apart. This is a little file. It's a 4-in-1 file. In other words, there's 4 surfaces on this file. It's more like a rasp. It's 2 round and 2 flat. And that's to take, if you've got a nail brought off, or you've got a barefoot horse, that piece of hoof has just gone away. You can feather those edges enough to give it a little bit of relief before you do anything. And in some cases, after you do this, and you're going to have to go out barefoot, you can start building up hoof surface with this. Layer after layer, build a pad. You get about, about a couple miles or so, you got to stop and do it again. But you're not just ripping that foot apart if that's already happened. Okay, let me think here. I think I've covered pretty much anything. Anything here that you see, you have questions about, don't hesitate to call me. You can find our phone number on our website at the www.mtcanaryco.com. Again, mtcanaryco.com. It'll be at the end of this YouTube. Oh, and one other thing too, I have some nails put in here, extra nails, with a piece of cotton oil so they don't rust. Okay, folks, don't get in trouble beyond this, because I ain't got it. Don't get in trouble. Don't be with me and get in trouble beyond this. I haven't got it, and then you're going to have to make me use my imagination and figure out what to do. Okay, there we are. That is our tool bag, and I hope that you don't need any of it. But the simple fact is, if you do need it, and you're back in there for, like I used to go for several days, and quite a distances, and quite difficult to get out to get anything, or to get help even. At that point, you're on your own, and the only way you can deal with that is to try to tool for being on your own. And that's what you've seen how I've done it. And you look at it, look at your own circumstances, and wonder how you're going to deal with stuff, and you'll figure out how to do it. All right, folks, thank you so very, very much for coming by and visiting with me. Remember to ride as often as you can, but for goodness sakes, try to figure out how to ride safely. Thank you, folks. Have a wonderful day. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.